In this video, we're going to look at some different examples of lobbying. Lobbying is the process of trying to influence the government. It might be individuals, it might be groups, it might be corporations, trying to get the government to do something that aligns with their interests. It might be passing a law, it might be reducing regulations. Now, in the theoretical approach to lobbying, there are different relationships between important people within the process, such as elected officials, government bureaucrats, and the lobbyists. These people work together in these mutual reinforcing networks to make sure that they get what they want in terms of favorable policy outcomes. Now, according to lobbying theory, ideas like the iron triangle approach or the revolving door model of lobbying, in both of those theoretical models, it's the taxpayers that don't get what they want, or at least policies that aren't in the best interests of most voters. Rather, the policies and regulations tend to favor this well-connected group or network of individuals. What does that process look like? Well, in Canada, we have a registration for lobbyists, and they have to disclose every time they meet with a designated public office holder. Those could include government ministers, policy analysts, people that work for the government, regulators, and every time they meet, periodically, the designated public office holder and the lobbyist have to disclose that communication. That's the first step. They start by having a meeting. That first communication will trigger a lobbying event. So they have to register that as a communication report. And what's discussed at that meeting? Well, typically the lobbyist, the person from outside the government, wants something to happen. They might want specific action on a piece of legislation. They might want the member of the government to vote one way or another way. Or they might want specific regulations removed or invoked for their industry. Now, what does the designated public office holder get in return? Well, sometimes there's the promise of financing. Maybe it's contributions to a re-election campaign to help get re-elected, or it could be offering to host a fundraiser where they can bring some of their well-connected and wealthy donors to donate money to the party or the candidate. There's also the potential to discuss future employment. People in government, especially elected officials, won't be there forever. They tend not to have very long careers. And if they are able to work out an agreement with the lobbyist or the corporation, maybe they can get a job after they leave office. And so these are typically the types of interactions that we think about when we're talking about lobbying. How does that work in practice? Well, there's a few examples. Here in Ontario, Doug Ford's government operates something called the Skills Development Fund. It started in 2025. The idea being that government money would flow to private companies to help them retrain their workforce. Now, one example, a company, FGF Industries, I think they were a bakery in Toronto, applied for some money from the Skills Development Fund, and they were not successful. So they enlisted the help of a lobbyist. This was someone that could talk them through the process and advocate on their behalf. So they hired Rubicon Strategies, which was started by Corey Tenike. The idea was that Rubicon would help them with their application. They would help try to maximize the potential impact of that application to ensure that they would be successful, and also try and use any influence they had with key decision makers in the government. After enlisting the help of the lobbyist, it just so happens that members of the family members that were affiliated with this particular firm made some donations to the Ontario PC Party. And as luck would have it, their application was successful the second time. So after hiring a lobbyist to help influence the process, making some donations to a political party, it turned out that their efforts were successful. Now, we should also note that Corey Tenike, when he's not running Rubicon Strategies, he works for the Ontario PC Party as the campaign manager for Doug Ford during his re-election campaigns. So this gives the impression, and at least sparked many accusations, that this was really a big part of a kind of a lobbying kickback process. That people that would support the Conservative Party and enlist the help of connected Conservative Party lobbyists, they will get more favorable treatment under the Skills Development Plan. That's one of the things that people are concerned about when we talk about lobbying benefiting special interests instead of the broader population. In another example, in Ontario again, Cabinet Minister, a member of Provincial Parliament, Todd Smith, served as the Minister of Industry. Part of his portfolio was looking out for Ontario power generation. While he served as the minister, Ontario Power Generation signed a very big contract with CanDo Energy. It's the type of thing that happens in Ontario's electricity sector. Eventually, Todd Smith moved to a different portfolio, Ministry of Education, where he was offered a job at CanDo Energy. So this sort of fuels the accusations of lobbying as a revolving door. The idea that if you can help, while you're in office, if you can help a specific company, then maybe you'll end up working for that company. So that's one example of the revolving door. Another example, at the federal level, Minister Navdeep Bains was in the Liberal government for many years, also serving in the Minister of Industry. One of the portfolios they oversaw was telecommunications and mergers. And this was around the time that Rogers was trying to buy Shaw Communications. Eventually this was approved, and as it turns out, Navdeep Bains went to work for Rogers. So again, accusations of the revolving door. You're in government, you do favors for a particular corporate entity, and then you get a job working for them. The revolving door in action. So just to recap, the idea of lobbying is that it can produce tangible benefits for firms and government officials. They want the government to do something, and there might be some sort of payoff in return. What is that payoff? Well, they could be trading access and influence for money and campaign contributions or access to fundraising networks, and maybe even potential future employment. This reinforces that idea, the general critique of lobbying, that connected insiders have more influence than voters.